Did you hear about the 2 teenagers that died after taking blue Punisher pills? Could their deaths have been prevented? Maybe. In this video, we'll be taking a closer look at the so-called drug checking services. These let users know the strength of the dose and if there's a particularly dangerous substance. Sounds helpful, right? In reality, there are a lot of barriers to drug checking in Europe. So why is there a big fight right now over drug checking in the UK? We're going to find out and look at another European country with one of the oldest drug checking services in the world. Maybe the UK can learn something from it. But let's start where many people first get in contact with drugs: music festivals. Festivals are hotspots for drug taking. Experts estimate that at least 50% of festival goers consume drugs like ecstasy, including sometimes those with a very high dose, like the blue Punisher. The fact that people just don't know what's in their pills has caused deaths. That's why many music festivals in the UK have for years been using drug checking to protect partygoers. They find out about dangerously high doses or poisonous substances through checking drugs they confiscate, and then issue warnings on billboards and social media. But now the UK government is telling festivals they can't drug check this summer. Festival organisers are furious.
It's the most ridiculous, alarming, dangerous move that in 30 years as a club promoter, festival organiser, I've seen. Is ridiculous.
Drug checking is really controversial. Sometimes it's about the funding. Some people don't want to see their taxes go towards drug checks, like it does in some countries. Others say it just encourages people to take drugs and say, no drugs, no problem, and say people should take responsibility. But some say it's really important for safety. What do you think about it? We can discuss drug checking a lot in theory, but what about in practice? Sasha Lord organises one of the UK's biggest music festivals and told us he has seen the impact drug checking can have.
I've seen a couple of incidents where we've had very, very poorly customers who've come in and they've not been able to respond, and the doctors have panicked and been able to say to their friends, what have they taken? We've been given a description, found something similar in the confiscations. The scientists have tested it and fed back immediately to the doctors what's in there. It takes seconds, and that gives that customer a fighting chance. And on both occasions, it's actually worked and saved a life.
So festival organisers have some crazy stories to tell. What does the research tell us about how effective drug checking is in general in preventing deaths? We asked Harry Sumnall. He's a professor who studies young people's drug use.
There's emerging evidence that this type of intervention can maybe persuade people to think about their drug use, perhaps reduce the frequency of use, to dispose of potentially harmful drugs which have been detected through the checking process. But I think the jury's out with regards to whether it can save lives.
Evidence is still coming in, but why has the debate in the UK boiled up this summer? Back to the fight. It started in June. The British government told festivals they only want drug checking to be carried out by providers who have a licence. According to organisers, the problem is
there's not one UK festival that has this licence, because they told the festival season 48 hours before the start of the season, and it takes 3 months. It's also £3,000 to apply for this licence. You're not guaranteed to get it.
When we called the British government to ask about this, they gave us the following statement. Basically, they haven't changed any laws or policies. There's always been a license requirement for testing, and it's the festival's own fault if they don't have the license. So what now? Festival organisers are still negotiating for some leeway, and some are trying to take the government to court. It's not clear yet how much drug checking will be able to take place this summer. One thing which is important to know, drug checking is just one measure that countries can use. And in the UK, the focus is elsewhere.
Possession of drugs, supply of drugs is illegal. People often commit crimes to raise money for drugs. So quite often, the approach is based on law enforcement.
So, which is the country that operates drug checking way more systematically? It's the Netherlands. The Netherlands has one of the oldest and most established drug checking services in the whole world. There's 32 centres where anyone can walk in and get their drugs tested for free. We asked some young people in the Netherlands how they view their country's drug checking policy.
I think drug testing is good because then the people that will take the drugs know that it cannot cause any harm, and they are more aware of it than when it isn't tested.
At the end of the day, people are still going to find a way to consume. If there's the possibility to test, I think it's positive, because then we reduce the the deaths caused by it.
At festivals, there should be drug testing as well.
I don't think that's necessary because by most festivals you don't are allowed to take drugs with you.
Opinions are divided in the Netherlands. Laura Smit-Richter is the national coordinator of the Netherlands Drug Monitoring Service. She told us that the benefit for people coming to a drug checking centre is that they get advice.
They always have a brief consultation with a prevention worker. It's fully anonymous, it's reliable information that they get about the risk of drug use in general, but more specifically the risk associated with their drug use.
Because the authorities can gather so much information from operating drug checking, they also share this information and issue warnings in an app called Red Alert.
Then you receive a push message, so what kind of substance does it contain? How does the substance look like? When it's a pill, you get a photo of the pill. And also there's some advice what you should do. Red alerts are not issued that often. When a life-threatening substance is being detected, we want to have the impact as high as possible.
So the Netherlands offers walk-in drug checking centres in cities, but not at festivals. They say they don't need it. Experts say drug checking can help at festivals, but it doesn't solve everything.
Drug checking services have a role to play in reducing drug-related harms and drug-related deaths, not just in festival and nightlife settings. But actually, the highest level of drug-related deaths are in people who use drugs such as heroin or other opioids or crack cocaine. These are the people who are really exposed to the harms of unregulated and illegal drugs markets.
Let's wrap up. The UK and the Netherlands have wildly different stances on drug checking. The UK has allowed limited drug testing on site at festivals, but is now going backwards by putting barriers in the way of drug checking. The Netherlands is more open door and upfront. If you want something tested, you can just walk in. There's no definitive right or wrong when it comes to these different approaches. What's clear is drug checking can't solve everything, and it doesn't make drug consumption safe. But it does have the potential to help people make more informed choices and ditch the stuff that could be really dangerous. What do you think of drug checking? Would you use it?